Hey everybody, welcome to Armageddon Dance Party. This is Robert Anthony. I hope you're all doing great. Let's start this off with the most glaring, obvious thing. I didn't record on Twitch this past Friday. That was unforeseen. My guest did cancel a few minutes before we were supposed to start. Obviously, this was bound to happen sooner or later, but it did kind of force my hand on something that I've been wanting to work on for quite some time, and that's reformatting the podcast in general. There was a few different ways that I was considering going with this. One of them was getting a permanent co-host, which would have made things like booking extra guests a lot easier. In the end, I decided that wasn't quite what I was after. So I was just kind of thinking, for the past few episodes, how I wanted to do this, with the obvious purpose of this podcast to kind of help what I'm doing on the side, which is stand-up. I felt that probably the best way to do this would be to dive right into something that I've been really scared of, honestly, and that's kind of solo freeforming. It does allow me to focus more time on the thing I like most, namely me. However, it is a little more difficult to deal with the dead air, as there's nobody to bounce things off of. Some of my heroes in comedy and podcasting do this, like Tim Dillon and Bill Burr. So I'm going to give it a shot myself. I hope you bear with me. Be a little patient. The episodes will get better as they go on, so just kind of hold on for the ride. Now, this doesn't mean that we're not going to have any guests at all, but it is going to be a little more sporadic. I want to be able to just have to count on me in general, but hopefully as we go on, we're going to get some interesting guests when it kind of fits the overall format in general. Feel free to reach out to me via socials. You can see the socials link in the description for the podcast, and I hope that you'll continue to stick around. Obviously, in a very short amount of time, the podcast popularity has far surpassed what I was doing on Twitch, and I did start to see an uptick in the audience count for Twitch. However, nobody was really talking in the chat, so it was people just kind of interested in seeing the live show, which I appreciate. And frankly, I didn't really want to interact with the chat that much, so it wasn't that big of a deal to me. But it came to a point where I realized that I didn't really need the Twitch aspect of it anymore. It's a little troubling. I at this time last year, I was doing a lot of Twitch streams. It was a big part of my life. I think a lot of us went to kind of those streaming platforms and looked for other ways to connect with people as we were locked down in COVID. However, now, with things opening back up, it's not necessarily as big a part of my life anymore. Unfortunately, a lot of those original members of that stream kind of moved on for various reasons, most of them my fault, of course. But it got to the point where there didn't really seem to be a big point to dedicating as much time to that platform as I had previously. As I said before, I'm very appreciative of all the new listeners, and if you are looking to see me on Twitch, I may still pop up from time to time, stream a game or two, but I'd have no plans in the near future to return to regular streaming. So if you want to stay in contact with me, the best way to do it is listen to the podcast, reach out to me on various social media platforms, and we'll just take it from there. There is a big advantage for leaving Twitch, and that is I no longer have to regularly show my face. Let's be honest. You're not here for my face. I know I have a great voice. You know I have a great voice. It is somewhat similar to salted pecans. And, it kind of ruins it, right? You hear my voice on a podcast, you go, oh, listen to that guy's voice. It's fucking amazing. Let me see what he looks like. And then you go to my Twitch stream, and then I look like a fucking balding gargoyle. I used to listen to this morning show in the Bay Area. I won't say the name. It's in LA now. But there was a lady on it, and she had such a great voice. And I must have listened to her for years until I finally Googled her and saw her face. And it was such a letdown because the attractiveness of the voice did not match the woman. And I kind of lost that connection with that show as a result of that. Of course, it's much easier to find pictures of my face now than it was to find pictures of DJs back then. So, take it with a grain of salt. If you want to look at pictures of my ugly face, it's easy to find me. But if you want to just listen to the podcast, you'd probably be much better off just imagining me in your head, and don't ruin it for yourself by actually looking up pictures of me. So I thought now would be a great time to kind of really introduce you to myself and give you a little bit of background about who I am, and maybe that'll keep you more engaged in the podcast in general. My name's Robert Anthony. I have 10 years experience in the video game industry before I went into business for myself. I've worked on big video games like The Sims, Sonic Adventure, Jet Grind Radio, Jet Set Radio Future, Rez, Daytona USA. I've worked on smaller games like Floygan Brothers and Ooga Booga, Alien Front Online, SOCOM. Also social gaming hits like Mobsters, Sorority Life, City of Wonder, Gardens of Time. I dropped out of film school when I was 18 and went to work for Sega of America in the first party testing team for the Sega Dreamcast. So I have always been a huge gamer, but getting involved in the video game industry was just kind of the cherry on top. Lately, my interest in video games has kind of waned, but I also really enjoy comedy. I started doing stand-up comedy in my early 20s. I started at the Brainwash Cafe. The Brainwash was a cafe slash bar slash laundromat slash artistic collective in the Soma area of San Francisco. And they did open mics once a week. I had recently broken up with somebody and I was really depressed and I didn't know what to do. And I had always loved stand-up comedy as a viewer. And I'd always been able to make my friends laugh. So it had always kind of been in the back of my mind, but I didn't know really how to start. So I started to make a few calls and looked up some various open mics on the internet, and the Brainwash kept popping up. And it was like a 20-minute walk from my work, and everything kind of aligned. The Brainwash, man, nothing can compare to the Brainwash. Most open mics now, they're just at comedy clubs. They exist, during the week. It's just comedy clubs trying to make extra money. But the Brainwash was something special. They had delicious food and a sense of community. San Francisco comedy in the early aughts was far different than how it exists now. People don't really understand the political aspects of comedy and why they're being ruined or choked out in like these liberal strongholds like San Francisco now. I saw a guy at the Brainwash go up on stage, unzip his jacket, and have a faux suicide vest on and threatening to blow up the entire club if they didn't laugh at his jokes. And then he proceeded to do 4 minutes. And nobody laughed. And it was beautiful. These are the kind of, parts of comedy that are dead now. You got to be really careful. And I don't like being careful. It's hard to find jokes, especially when you're in a liberal stronghold. It's hard to find jokes when you're like a blonde white guy. And, I constantly tell myself if I ever become rich for any reason, I'm going to go back to San Francisco and open up the Brainwash again because it closed a few years ago. I miss real comedy, and I see how it's changed. And it is a bit of a challenge for me to get back into it, but I'm trying. We as humans constantly look for purpose, but we never ask why we look for purpose. We never seem to question the fact that maybe we're just too big for our britches. Maybe we don't understand that we're too smart, and that's why we've kind of put ourselves into this conundrum. Nowadays, we want to find a purpose because we don't want to accept the fact that life is meaningless. And purpose itself is just an attempt to delude ourselves into thinking that life isn't meaningless. And that's okay. Like, you can accept that. Feel it, breathe it in, and accept it, and then accept your purpose. But accept the fact that the purpose itself has been manufactured by you. It hasn't been manufactured by the world. The world has no purpose. Anyway, bit of a side rant. So, the first time I did 4 minutes at the Brainwash was after I had visited a few times. I sat right up front, and this woman, probably 60, 65 years old, asked if she could sit next to me. And I said, absolutely. And she said, are you going to perform? And I said, yeah, I'm going to try to. And I pulled out, this wad of paper. She said, have you ever performed before? And I was like, no, this is my first time. And she's like, well, let me buy you a beer. And at first I'm like, is this old lady trying to fuck me? You know, I considered it. But she wasn't trying to fuck me. She explained to me that she came to these all the time, and she looked forward to seeing the new comedians. The funny thing is, I went to the Brainwash hundreds of times after that, and I never saw her again. Sometimes I look at the stars and think maybe that she was my guardian angel, giving me a bit of advice. I can't explain it. I never found anybody that knew her. I don't know why she told me that. She didn't make a pass at me. She legitimately looked like she was supporting just me, and I never saw her again. It's one of those very weird things in my life. So, as was the tradition in open mics back then, I want to say it was like 2004, you basically put your name in a hat, and they pulled the names out of the hat, and where your name was pulled, that's where you were in the order. There was no other politics. It was completely fair. So I pulled. I didn't pay attention to the lineup. I sat down with her. I drank the beer and just talked to this lady. As I started seeing these other open micers come on and start to kill, I got more and more nervous. So I ordered a pitcher and proceeded to get blasted. This woman looked at me and she said, you know, you don't have to drink to be funny. And I said, okay. And I proceeded to continue drinking. It was at this point that my name was starting to come up. I think I had one more person in front of me, and he was announced, and it was Rob Cantrell. And if you're not a comedy nerd, it's okay. But Rob Cantrell was a semifinalist on the first season of Last Comic Standing. And that was like, it was kind of fucked up because I was like, wait a minute. Like, I've seen this guy on TV, and now I'm following him the first time I ever do comedy. Like, what does that say about me? More importantly, what does that say about him? Because I know this guy kills. And it was fucked up. It was like seriously fucked up. And then what was even more fucked up is that Rob Cantrell had been watching me get blasted, fucking hammered with this old woman, and then started roasting me. He had some joke about, I see a lot of new guys in the fucking crowd. Look at this guy. Do you know how wasted I had to get fucking get up on stage? And like was pointing at me. And I'm like, this is terrible. I think I made a mistake. And I did it. I did it anyway. It was horrible. It was a horrible set. I got no laughs, 0 laughs. And I basically just ran through it. I had no concept of comedic timing, which is huge. People think that like you can just write a joke and that equals laughter. People don't understand that timing is like a muscle that you have to develop. And the joke itself is only like 20% of the work. So I fucked up that set. I fucked up my very first set because I basically ran through everything. I just wanted to get off the stage as quick as possible, but I still wanted to know to myself at least that I did it and that my first set was following Rob Cantrell. So I got off stage and I felt the euphoria. And the euphoria can't be explained. I'd been on stage plenty of times before that. I was a child actor, and I'd never felt that kind of like comedic euphoria before. And it's a lot of fun. So I continued to do the Brainwash. From there, I got showcases at the 50 Mason, which is now closed, as is the Brainwash. And then from my showcases at the 50 Mason, I started doing the Purple Onion. The Purple Onion's still open, but there's like new owners. It's not the same Purple Onion. The Purple Onion back in the day was an amazing club. Like Robin Williams was there. Zach Galifianakis shot a special there. I did promo for big name comedians. Todd Barry, go fuck yourself, Todd Barry. And other major acts just to get like 5-minute stage time. It doesn't work like that now. Like marketing is all done through social media, but back in the day, we used to have to just go out and bark and have flyers. And the Purple Onion was in North Beach. And North Beach is my hometown, essentially. It's my second hometown. I've introduced many a lady to the allure of North Beach, but I don't want to fucking toot my own horn. I think I fucking revitalized North Beach just from how many people I fucking brought there. North Beach, if you haven't been there and you are going to San Francisco in the near future, mark it on your map. it's totally outside regular San Francisco. So fast forward a few more years, I was doing showcases regularly. I was working in the video game industry for a variety of different companies, and I would commute to work every day or walk to work every day, depending on who I was contracting for. And then I would just go do comedy wherever I could do it. Whatever open mic would have me, whether it was the Brainwash or showcasing or some shitty bar in North Beach, I would totally dedicate myself to it. And I lived above a strip club called the Roaring Twenties. The Roaring Twenties had this big, giant neon sign with this blonde neon woman. And if you go there, the sign is still there, last time I checked. If you check the sign, there's a window right next to the sign, and that's the unit that I lived in. And I spent every night drunk, passing out to this big neon blonde woman right in my window. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I really wouldn't. There's a lot of regrets that I have in my life, but when I look at quote unquote successful middle class people, they just go to college, they get a boring job, they hate it, they get a house, they get a wife, they get kids, they do this fucking checklist of things that, millions upon millions of other people have done before them. I passed out to a neon sign of a blonde woman above a strip club and followed some fucking dumb dream. It's a lot of fun. So anyway, I'm doing comedy again, and I really like it. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm getting laughs a lot faster than I did before, and that alone is great. I'm in the Washington area now, and there aren't as many comedy clubs. This is another liberal stronghold also, so the jokes, they don't land as well as I feel they should be landing. This is kind of driving why I want to move, because I finally reconnected with this creative aspect of myself, and I want to dive into it. I'm blessed to have a job that I can work basically anywhere in the world with, and I kind of feel like I'm spinning my wheels here. So I'm looking forward to getting back out there. But right now I'm just practicing. I'm fucking out there. I'm doing the open mics again. I feel like I'll probably get a showcase again in another month, hopefully. And, this is partly why I spun up the podcast when I did. Of course, you may or may not know I'm the producer for my father's podcast, the Alien Probe Podcast. Shout out to the Alien Probe Podcast. And I got a lot of experience just within the first few months. We started it late last year. And it got to the point earlier this year where I needed a creative outlet to kind of get myself out of another dark place, and started with the podcast. I had already written a few jokes because of COVID, and saw an email that open mics were going to start up again. So I jumped at the chance and basically just ran right into it, face first. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm really feeling life again without needing external validation. Internal validation is really important, and it is something that I struggle with. I think that for a large part of my life, I looked for relationships to kind of get that validation from. And I'm finally at a point in my life, I don't know if maybe my libido's dropping or what, but I'm not seeking validation from relationships anymore. I can just have healthy relationships finally, which is kind of a weird feeling for me. And so anyway, that's where I'm at. That's where you guys come in. I appreciate the listeners. I know we have a lot of listeners out of the country. I'm not sure what your guys' deal is because I don't hear from pretty much all of you, but you seem to be returning quite frequently. I would love some follows on those socials. Again, follow that link and tell me what you like about the show. I'm really curious what keeps you guys coming back, what you'd like to hear more about, anything like that. Just talk to me, please. And that's about it. I mean, I do really appreciate everything that's happening on TikTok. I've only uploaded a few comedy videos, but the reaction to them, I've really, really been surprised at, as a couple of other people have mentioned as well. It's interesting. I have talked so much shit about TikTok for a really long time, and I decided, if I was going to do comedy again, that I definitely was going to get involved in the platform. And with just a few of my videos, I've gotten very positive feedback from them. So that helps me. It's really helpful for my self-esteem, obviously, and I appreciate the fact that a lot of people seem to be enjoying them. I'm not sure what the future is for me on TikTok. It kind of scares me that I got so many likes on the videos that I have. Of course, it's not, huge. It's obviously not a huge amount of likes, but the thing is, especially in early days of comedy, you have to be careful about the kind of stuff that you put on the internet. People will just rip it off. My joke about my dog eating my dead body out of the bathtub, when I did that, just 2 weeks later, two other comics had jokes about their pets eating them. The same place. Sure, it might be a coincidence, whatever. They weren't the exact same joke as me, but nobody was talking about their animals eating them when they died. All of a sudden, I do a joke, then two other people make their own jokes, and that's fine. That's just how it works. And I can accept that. What I am scared of is putting my shit on the internet. Also, stop with the requests for the full sets. Guys, I'm giving you the money shots. Like, trust me, you don't want to see the full sets. I'm giving you the best of the best. But I don't think I'm even going to do that. I'm going to continue on TikTok. I've been watching a lot of videos, a lot more videos than I used to. I didn't take the platform seriously for a really long time, but I think I'm going to do like platform-specific videos, more TikTok-style videos, I guess. But I need some help. Definitely in the future, the plan is to get more of like a stable, quote-unquote, crew of comedy-focused people, comedians, TikTokers, hopefully, to help me make videos that are a little more appropriate for the platform. And, occasionally I'll throw in a comedy clip here and there, but don't expect too much action on that platform in the near future because I'm still kind of trying to feel my way around it. So I am a car enthusiast. I'm not nearly the grease monkey that I imagine myself as. I've kind of reached a point in time where I just want to kind of pay other people to do the work on the cars. But I love cars. I love fast cars in particular. And I've always loved fast cars. My grandfather brought me up loving, muscle cars. And that's kind of, some of my best memories from my childhood are sitting in his garage watching him work on his Corvette. And so for a large part of my youth and, my late teens, early 20s, I was really into Corvettes as well. But there came a point in time where I kind of started to shift, not too far, but my love went from Corvettes to Camaros. So now I'm kind of at a point in time where I can buy Camaros when I want to. So I have two Camaros. I've got a 67 that's just basically collecting dust in my garage, and I've got a ZL1 1LE. Now, if you're not familiar with this car, it is insane. It's not a regular Camaro. It is a fuck you Camaro. It looks like it's something straight out of Fast and the Furious. There's probably 5 in total in this whole fucking state. They're a ridiculous car, but they're also insanely fast. They have 650 horsepower, supercharged Corvette Z06 engine under the hood, this like insane trim. It's just an insane Camaro. I didn't buy this Camaro to impress anybody. I bought it because I want it. Like, trust me, as a 39-year-old man, this car is not impressing the girls that I go after. My primary demo for girls that I go after are college-educated, intelligent girls in their 20s. And I gotta be honest, most of them wouldn't be caught dead in this fucking car. It's actually kind of a handicap if you think about it. Because I'm working at getting them, and I got this fucking car. I also have a Wrangler I pull up in when I want to, slum it. And but anyway, I just enjoy this fucking car. I enjoy smashing sometimes. I don't smash like I used to. In my early 20s, I had a 300ZX twin turbo, and I fucking flew into a tree head first. The car head first, not my head first, thank God. And after that, it kind of, I stopped driving as crazy as I used to. But every now and then I put the fucking gas down. It's nice to have the power when you want it, So anyway, I took a road trip this weekend, and I was in some podunk fucking town at a gas station. And I went in to, grab a Red Bull or whatever. And I came out, and this guy was looking at my car, which isn't out of the ordinary. It gets a lot of looks. And he said to me, why'd you put a fucking spoiler on that car? You think it makes you go faster? And I was like, I didn't put the spoiler on the car. That's how it comes. And he's like, buddy, I know Camaros. Camaros don't come with spoilers like this. And I was like, well, I mean, I hate to break it to you, but I don't think you know Camaros as well as you do, because if you knew what this one was, you would know that it comes with the spoiler. And he kind of scoffed at me and walked away. And like, as he's walking away, he says, my Audi would kick the shit out of that Camaro. And it's just like, what? What are you talking? Like, what is this? And I was like, okay, well, fucking let's go. Where's your Audi? And he was like, oh, well, you know, it's at home. And he kept walking. This is a thing that I'm really tired of, is these imaginary race car drivers. I don't know if the guy had an Audi. He may have, but it certainly wouldn't kick the shit out of my car. I understand why he didn't know this car. Again, this car, you don't see it too often. It's a very exclusive kind of car. Not doing it to impress anybody. I like the fucking car. But these imaginary race car drivers, these people who want to tell me either what they would do if they had my money and bought a car, or why their car was better than my car, even though they never want to fucking race me in their car. This has to stop. I mean, excuse me, sir, I'm in the middle of a midlife crisis. Can you please just let me be? You know? Again, I don't want to go the standard route of just having kids and dying. If I'm going to fucking do things my way, I'm going to fucking buy the car that I want. If you want to fucking get a car, get whatever fucking car you want. These people really should spend less time judging me and spend more time focusing on their studies and getting an actual job to afford the car that they want to project on me. This is happening over and over recently. It's always, well, if I could get a car like that, I would get this car. Or why'd you get that car? You should have got this car. And it's like, go fuck yourselves. I don't understand why everyone is so obsessed with what cars I own that make me happy. That's all it is. And I realize that this may make me sound like a douche. I understand it. I get it. But at the same time, I'm not like racing up and down the street trying to race everyone. I'm just having fun with my car, which I barely even go over the speed limit in. And all of a sudden, everybody's real angry that I didn't get the car that they want, that either they can't afford or their mommy won't buy them. Who fucking knows? It's just an annoying way to live. It's haters. Haters everywhere. Haters in my midst. I can't fucking stand them. Anyway, so this past weekend I took a trip to Portland. Holy shit. What a shithole fucking town Portland has turned into. I don't really understand what happened. I used to live in Beaverton, I want to say in the mid-2000s. And when I came back to the Bay Area, everyone would always ask me, how was Portland? And I would always say the same exact thing. It's like San Francisco, but cleaner. At some point in time in the last couple of years since my last visit to Portland, that is no longer an accurate description of the city. Portland looks like if hepatitis decided to incorporate. It's disgusting. It's almost on San Francisco's level. Of course, now we know San Francisco's disgusting too. This is what happens when you let one party run a city, a major metropolis. And this is happening in Seattle, it's happening in Portland, it's happening in San Francisco, and it's happening in New York. You need to have purple leadership. You don't want to have red leadership. You don't want to have blue leadership. The problem with overall blue leadership is that once you kick all the Republicans out and you just have progressives, they're all just trying to out-progressive each other. Okay, well, yeah, we'll let the homeless live here. Oh, you think that's good? We're going to let the homeless live here, and we're going to legalize crystal meth. And we're going to, not bust you if you're shooting up on the street. It just becomes a race to see who can turn the city into a shithole faster. Now, you have the same problem on the right. If you have an all-red city, you're going to have situations like, oh, you want to ban late-term abortions? Well, how about we just ban abortions, et cetera, et cetera. You see the problem. The beauty of our country is when we have opposing sides both clamoring for leadership at all times. This is what makes this country work. We need to have our leaders arguing with each other from complete opposite ends of the field. That is what keeps our boat steady. But nobody wants to accept that anymore because we have this new way of thinking where everybody just wants it their way or the highway. Nobody wants any involvement with the other party at all because they don't see the beauty that the other side brings, which is stable leadership. So this episode's going to go a little shorter than most. I do apologize, but trying to catch up, trying to make sure that I still give you something every week. We're going to start to schedule these regularly, so I think you can come back and count on every Sunday night a new episode being up. I'm not going to give an exact time because obviously these proliferate to the different platforms at different times. But I really appreciate you guys continuing to listen. We're going to extend this. Hopefully by next week we have it back up to an hour, and then maybe we'll go even a little longer. Thanks again for listening, everybody, and I'll see you next week.
Exciting and so new and different and weird.